Chrollo and Prince Tserriednich might have a deep connection that could add a whole other level of insanity to this succession war. So let's talk about it, but spoilers beware. So I alluded to this potential connection in my previous video, where I talk all about the nin ability that Chrollo wants to steal in order to defeat Hisoka. And I recommend checking out that video because I go way more in depth there, but the short version is I think he may need to steal Kurapika's ability, and that obviously creates a very unique situation because Kurapika hates Chrollo, right? But in that video I talked about how there may be this connection between Chrollo and Tserriednich, and if so, that makes things even more interesting because it would mean Chrollo and Kurapika are aligned against the fourth prince. So what is this potential connection? Well, in order to talk about it, we need to rewind in Chrollo's backstory. So if you recall, Togashi spends a few chapters flashing back in this arc to give us the origins of the Phantom Troop. And the super short version is we see Chrollo and the rest of them as young kids in Meteor City, living a pretty normal life, all things considered, until one day they discover the body of their friend Sarasa, who has been brutally murdered. Now, this happened because these people are going around looking for vulnerable people and children to abduct and do absolutely heinous things to. And we know that this wasn't just some random act of cruelty because they talk about their quota. So they have clients that they are basically getting these people for. And specifically in Sarasa's case, the way Chrollo found her was just unspeakable, and there was a note with it that he refused to tell anyone else because of how heinous it was. And specifically in this scenario, the way they found it and the way it was set up, there had clearly been a video taken of it, which again was produced for some sort of client. And again, this is why the Phantom Troop exists. Chrollo literally dedicated his entire life to finding these people and making them pay. And as you can see, they have some distinct features. Mole Man here and Tattoo Guy here. And as you can see, this is Mole Man. But where is this image from? Well, the most recent chapter. And specifically, this comes from a news broadcast that we see Chrollo listen to in the most recent chapter, where we find out that it's the 10-year anniversary of this guy's death. And we just see some people gossiping about it, and Chrollo thinking it's really rich that they're calling him like a good guy and a philanthropist, when little do they know. But what's important here is that Chrollo doesn't mention who that is. So only if you, the reader, recognize that that was Mole Guy are you going to make the connection that that is Sarasa's killer, and the reveal that Chrollo has successfully gotten his revenge, which being the most important part of his character and his backstory, it's interesting that Togashi kind of just let that play out in the background, right? He's kind of calling our attention to it, but maybe more as another set piece instead of like a strong conclusion to that fundamental part of his arc, right? Now, maybe it is just Togashi letting us know that, hey, I just reminded you about the origins of the Phantom Troop, and here's a little closure on that. But again, being as subtle as it is, I think there's more to it. Because I think Chrollo is in a really dark place right now. He keeps losing members of the Phantom Troop, and we know he blames himself for this, to the extent where he is going to steal some sort of nin ability in order to deal with Hisoka for good, and the rest of the Phantom Troop don't want that to happen. They want to get to Hisoka first because they're worried that whatever Chrollo is going to do is going to be the end of him as well. And since we get this reminder that the person who started all of this, Sarasa's killer, has been dead for over 10 years, Chrollo probably also feels as if he has no purpose anymore. And with all of his friends dying, just what is he doing? What's the point, right? So here's where the juiciness comes in, because we dealt with Mole Guy, right? But what about Tattoo Guy? Another very distinct character, kind of for no reason. And where else have we seen a very unique, distinct Tattoo Guy character, but with fourth Prince Tserriednich? And not only that, he is literally in this scene, and when we get this introduction, tattooing the corpse of a woman that Tserriednich has just been toying with, to put very kindly, because Tserriednich is an absolute freak. I mean, when we are introduced to this guy, we see him literally doing psychopathic things with two women in basically the service of art. He wants to find inspiring young people with a future that he can create art with. We already know that he has this grotesque collection of body parts and other messed up things, not the least of which are the Kurta clan members' eyes, which is the whole reason Kurapika is after him, right? So he certainly fits the bill for somebody who would, let's say, hire Mole Guy and Tattoo Guy to go out there and abduct children or women in order to produce art for him. We even literally see him filming the Tattoo Guy marking up this woman's body. So what if those tattoo guys are one and the same, thus drawing a connection between Tserriednich and Sarasa's killing? Now, whether that is directly insofar as like he was the one that hired them and may even own the Sarasa tape, or just indirectly in that he's just one of their clients. Like even if he was just one of them, I think that would be enough for Chrollo to want to take him out. Because again, this is the whole reason for Chrollo's existence, right? In order to find those people and make them pay. So just how interesting does that make all of the dynamics on the Black Whale, especially if we do have a Chrollo who lacks all direction and purpose right now, then find that out and just be completely reinvigorated with his original purpose. And that's not even to mention how Kurapika would fit into all of this. Because these two absolutely hate each other, right? Kurapika hates Chrollo because he's partly responsible for the massacre of his clan, and Chrollo hates Kurapika because he's responsible for the death of two of the Phantom Troop members. Now imagine that they have to work together against Tserriednich because they share an enemy in him, and in fact, may even realize that he was the true enemy all along. And I just think this is fascinating because Kurapika and Chrollo are basically dark mirrors of one another, right? Chrollo is Kurapika if he goes all the way to the dark side, because both of them are motivated by revenge of loved ones, and they'll go to any length necessary to get that done. So I think Togashi, not that he has to do this, I mean, none of this may track at all, right? But if this is the direction it goes, it's just so compelling to me, so I hope it is. I just find this fascinating, and the fact that in this arc, we have both found out about what happened to Sarasa and then been reminded of the guy responsible for it, and just so happen to have two very distinct tattoo character designs in the same arc. It feels all too coincidental for me for it to be absolutely nothing. So let me know y'all's thoughts and what direction you'd like to see this go if it does happen. Like, would you be down for some sort of tenuous Kurapika Chrollo alliance, or do you think that they could just never come to terms with each other like that and it's going to be some crazy three-way type of situation? Pause. And before y'all get out of here, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Divine Dragon Felgrand, who sent in some support and says, "Hey Manga, I just want to ask because I'm curious, have you ever heard of Saturday AM? To summarize, it's basically Shonen Jump before America. And if you have heard of it, have you read any manga that's in it, like Apple Black, which is made by White Manga, which is also a YouTube account? And if not, you should at least check it out. It's kind of cool." So I actually haven't ever heard of this, which is another reason I wanted to ask you guys if you've heard of it and if there's anything I need to check out in there. I love checking out, I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't say it because I don't know anything about this, but I love checking out like smaller creators' manga. And maybe this is huge for all I know. So I'll definitely look into Apple Black and check out Saturday AM in general. But if any of the rest of you guys have seen this, let me know what your thoughts on it are. Or if you have any other recommendations for Saturday AM manga or just any other small manga. Obviously, I'm not promising any type of coverage or any of these things, but I do like to support smaller creators and independent creators. So I'm always open to hearing that type of stuff. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching.